All right. Good evening, I should say, and welcome to the MGH and Brigham ID Fellowship Grad 2020 graduation. For those on the call who don't know me, my name is Molly Paris. I'm the Fellowship Program Director, and I'm delighted to be hosting tonight's events. I want to especially welcome those of you who we haven't met before. There's some friends and family on the call, and it's really wonderful to be able to see friends and family who we actually wouldn't otherwise be able to see at our graduation. So there is a bit of a silver lining to this virtual event. When I started as the program director in 2018 with your class as my very first class, I never anticipated that we would be celebrating your graduation virtually by Zoom. However, as you all have demonstrated time and time again, you are flexible and very good sports. And so I'm sure that you've not at all been fazed by this change in venue. We have a very exciting lineup for today with some surprise guests as well that I hope will make the evening feel even more celebratory. But in all seriousness, I do want to start out the evening by thanking you all, not just for your resilience in the face of this current challenge in front of us, but really for your resilience throughout the 2 years of fellowship. IDA Fellowship is a really challenging one, and your class in particular was faced with extremely high volumes during your first clinical year, and then we're obviously faced with the balance of clinical or research work during a pandemic in this second one. However, I hope you see by reflecting back how each patient interaction you had, whether it be from a complex endocarditis case you had on service to caring for a patient as a primary care doctor in your outpatient clinic, to more recently, working with family members who could speak on behalf of their patient intubated with COVID-19. What an invaluable experience it was getting to know that person in front of you and your patients, and to learn from them about our great specialty. Some of you will go on to have enriching careers in clinical infectious disease. Others are pursuing research and research endeavors to push the boundaries of what we know in our specialty. But regardless of the path that you have chosen, I hope you will carry with you the strengths you each possess, which is curiosity, compassion, and courage. And as you set out on this next journey in your career, I do hope that you carry each of those with you. With that, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Dr. Paul Sachs, the Associate Program Director for the program, to say a few words. Paul?
That was very well said, Molly. And I'd just like to welcome everyone to this graduation and just say that when we realized in March that this was going to be something very different for us infectious disease specialists, the first thing we heard from our senior ID fellows was, how can we help and how can we contribute? And boy, did you deliver. And I just want to say an enormous thank you to all of you for stepping up and helping us in a way that nobody could have anticipated. This is a once in a century event, literally, actually, once in a century, I hope. And the way that you helped us out cannot be overestimated. So you are great, and we want to celebrate you tonight. And that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Paul. I'd like to turn the microphone over now to Dr. Dan Koretskys, the Division Chief for Infectious Diseases at Brigham and Women's Hospital, for a few words.
Well, thanks very much, Molly. And let me echo Molly and Paul's words. First of all, congratulating you for completing your infectious disease fellowship, but also for acknowledging the extraordinary contributions that you've made to the care of patients with COVID-19 over the last several months, the amazing way that you all stepped up and helped fill the breach and in so many different ways. And this is an experience that's going to stay with you for the rest of your lives. I wish that we were having our traditional Harvard-wide ID graduations celebration where we could all be together chatting and sharing a glass of wine and some very nice food, but we'll have to make the best of it with our Zoom celebration that we've all gotten so used to, and that doesn't in any way detract from the incredible gratitude that we have for you and our appreciation of all that you've contributed and our best wishes for your continued success in your careers.
Thank you, Dan. And now I'd like to turn the microphone over to Dr. Rochelle Walensky, who is the Division Chief for Infectious Diseases at Mass General Hospital. You're muted.
There we go. Thank you so much, Molly, and thank you for everyone who is here, our fellows as well as their families and our faculty. Given our current state of the world and the intersection of the two pandemics that we are feeling very personally right now, I thought it most appropriate to open with a quote from Martin Luther King, who wisely said that life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? I can answer for the last 2 years, you have given tirelessly for others. At MGH alone, during your clinical year, you collectively did over 3,000 consults. And I know you bore the brunt of an exceptionally hectic clinical year at MGH for sure. And while we all expected second year to be stressful in its own way, I think no one expected COVID. And each of you stepped up tirelessly and selflessly yet again. Some of you came home from research activities abroad. Some of you designed biothreats policies. Some of you engaged in many hours of results review. Some of you enrolled patients in community serology studies. And some of you acted as consult interpreters, doing consult themselves also for scared patients who are alone. Time and time again, I heard about what you did, the things that you did that I didn't even know about. So today you graduate. It may in fact be your last official graduation in life, and it's also pretty anticlimactic, on Zoom, no less, because many of you will continue on tomorrow after graduation just as you did yesterday. If not quite back to the lab yet, back to thinking about the lab, the experiments you need to do, the papers and grants that lie ahead of you. But some of you will make this graduation with a change to a new city, a new job, and a new challenge. Over the last 2 years, each of you have grown remarkably in your ID prowess, your personal demeanor, in the care of one another, and in the clinical and individual relationships you have fostered. We at MGH, and I'll speak for the Brigham here, are extraordinarily proud of the part we have played in your lives, and honestly and personally, the part you have played in mine. One day you will tell your fellowship story. In fact, I'll say stories, and it will become someone else's survival guide. In the meantime, wherever you are, please know you always have family here at MGH and the Brigham Divisions of Infectious Diseases. Thank you so much for all you have given us, and a very warm congratulations.
Thank you, Rochelle. It's hard without having some applause. I feel like the class deserves some applause, but Zoom isn't the best for it. I'd now like to, thank you, Akash. I'd now like to turn the microphone over to a very wonderful guest that we've been able to have join us this evening. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome Dr. Peter Slavin, who is the president of Massachusetts General Hospital, who has kindly come this evening to this event to say a few words of thanks on behalf of MGH. So with that, Dr. Slavin.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is really mine to be here with you this evening. I appreciate the opportunity to drop in on your Zoom session and share and congratulations of the graduates of the ID Fellowship, and also thank their family members and friends for supporting them through this stage in their training. But yeah, congratulations to all of you who are finishing the fellowship. This is really a wonderful milestone in your professional careers. And I hope as you move to the next chapters of your careers, you'll look back with a lot of fondness on this experience, with thinking about everything that you've learned by mastering infectious disease, thinking about the friends that you made along the way, and also feel very well prepared for what lies ahead of you. I've been at Mass General since 1984 when I came there as a resident, about 1 year behind Dan Koretskys. There's a lot that has changed in medicine and at the hospital since then, but there are a few things that really remain unchanged. And one is that infectious disease at Mass General really represents, I think, the pinnacle of clinical excellence that exists within the hospital. The encyclopedic knowledge that exists among the clinicians within ID, as well as the meticulousness with which you go about caring for patients, really sets you apart from, I think, everyone else who practices at the MGH. It's one thing that also hasn't changed is the fact that when other physicians at the MGH are taking care of a patient, they really don't know what's going on. They inevitably consult infectious disease to help them sort out very complicated patients. This was at one point in my life very personal for me, because thanks to the meticulous and care and the encyclopedic knowledge of Nesli Basgos, my father's life was saved about 10 years ago, and so my family will forever be grateful for that gift. And I think if you look at why is it that the infectious disease unit at the MGH and the Brigham have been so good for so long, I think it really comes down to leadership. When I started, it was led by Mort Swartz, then Steve Calderwood, and now Rochelle Walensky, and we're delighted that Dan is in his position at the Brigham. But I think those leaders have really stewarded this incredible treasure of both hospitals, and I hope you have enjoyed interacting with it for the last few years. I want to thank all of the fellows for the incredible job you've done during your entire fellowship, but particularly during the last few months as we and our patients and our community have battled COVID-19. I know all parts of the hospital were stretched to meet the challenge, but no part of the hospital more stretched and challenged than our infectious disease divisions. I've heard about the chart review that you had to do to determine whether patients had COVID-19 or not. I heard about the beeper that you had to cover to respond to questions throughout the institution. I heard about the large number of consults that you fielded. And I also had the pleasure of watching some of your literature reviews, which were incredible. So thank you for doing all of that. And so thank you so much for the incredible role that you played in helping our patients, our hospital, and our community get through the last few months. And hopefully we won't be challenged like this for as long as any of us are involved in medicine. So I just want to close by wishing you all the very best in the next chapter of your professional careers. I have no doubt that you will go on to take great care of countless patients in the future. I have no doubt that through your innovative and academic skills, you will advance the field through your research. And I also hope and have no doubt that you will pass this tradition of clinical excellence on to trainees at our institutions or elsewhere. And there's one other hope that I have for all of you, and that is that, be it in your personal lives or your professional lives, that you'll find every opportunity to try to make our healthcare system and our society more equitable and more just as well. So congratulations on this milestone in your professional careers and your lives, and best wishes to all of you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dr. Slavin. Really appreciate it. We also have a very special message from Dr. Betsy Nabel, who is president of the Brigham Health and Brigham and Women's Hospital. And so we're going to share that now. Jen, you might be muted.
Hold, please. Oh my God, not now.
Dear graduating infectious disease fellows, on behalf of Brigham and Women's Hospital and the entire Brigham Health enterprise, I'm delighted to congratulate you on your graduation from your ID fellowship. We thank you in particular for your service during this extraordinary time when we have faced an infectious disease threat not seen since the influenza pandemic of 1918. COVID-19 presented our patients, our hospital, and our society with extraordinary challenges. We all watched you with great admiration as you paused your emerging research pathways and placed yourself front and center in response to the new disease. Through direct patient care, close attention to rapidly emerging literature, and support from other Brigham staff, you demonstrated the utmost commitment to the mission of the hospital and, most importantly, to the health of our patients. It really was an example of dedication and professionalism at its finest. So I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Congratulations again, and thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And a big thanks to Dr. Nabel for sending that in. She was very sorry she wasn't able to attend this evening. With that, I'd like to transition now to discussing each of our individual fellows in the graduating class. And I've enlisted the help of the clinic preceptors who have spent 2 years with each of these fellows, who have really gotten to know them very well and seen them in action for those 2 years. And so we'll be going through each of our graduating fellows in alphabetical order. And I'll be introducing both the graduating fellow, followed by their clinic preceptor, who will be saying a few words. So hopefully my alphabetizing has been correct, but we'll start with Dr. John Herrmann, who has been in clinic with Dr. Jake Johnson for the past 2 years, and I will turn the microphone over to Jake.
Great, thank you, Molly. So yeah, I had the honor of being Jonathan Herrmann's clinic preceptor, and as he knows, and many of you also know, he was my first clinic fellow since I became a faculty at the Brigham. And I feel extremely lucky to have had it be John, because he made precepting extremely easy, always putting patients first and always coming to clinic and having a good time. I'll say as well, I'm not surprised that when the pandemic hit, John not only became an expert in how to deliver kind of excellent virtual care, but also stepped up, whether it be on the inpatient side, the dreaded BioThreads pager, or even putting on his research hat and thinking of how can we bring more clinical trials to the Brigham, and has been working on trying to get convalescent plasma in particular in the system. I'm very excited that John's going to be continuing in clinic with me next year as he continues his research. And you know, I had no worries about John because, as many of you know, he graduated from Brown. And I know I may be a little biased, but those who graduate from Brown as undergrads seem to be the best ID clinicians. I know there's a lot of people in the audience that would agree with that. And he's going to be continuing his malaria research in Gaylord Alter's lab next year. So thank you, John, for a great 2 years. Looking forward to working with you some more, and congrats to all the fellows. Thanks, Molly.
Thanks, Jake, and congrats, John, on the graduation this evening. Round of applause virtually. Your diploma will be coming in the mail. Up next, Dr. Yana Yerolambova is graduating, and Yana has been in clinic now with Dr. Nestle Bazgaz for the past 2 years, with a minor hiatus to South Africa for a few months before brought back from for COVID-related work. And so I'll turn the microphone now to Dr. Bazgaz.
Thank you, Molly. It's a pleasure and a privilege to say a few words about Yana. I wasn't going to mention Yana's excellent and sustained academic record, but I have to say she went to Brown, since Jake Johnson has now made that mandatory. She may or may not remember, but I first met her when she was a earnest and exceptional medical student at HMS, and we were thrilled when she joined us as a resident in the global medicine track, where she also completed her MPH. I have had the opportunity to work with Yana both on our inpatient consult service and in her ambulatory clinic. And I can say that she has exceeded even the loftiest expectations for her in her clinic. She is truly a multidimensional physician. Her superb intellect and her scholarly approach to medicine have allowed her to make every patient encounter a learning experience. And she's now able to marshal her fund of knowledge and skill as an infectious disease clinic to the benefit of all of her patients. Yana is meticulous in her preparation and very rigorous in her approach to patient care. Every question and nuance is carefully considered, and Yana, truth be told, it is sometimes considered more than once. She is remarkably humanistic in her approach to patients and families, and readily adapts her approach to the range of patients from all cultures that we see in our practice. It's a marker of her diligence and professionalism that even during our exceptionally challenging first year, she took wonderful care of her outpatients, and this is seconded by all our clinic staff. Unfortunately for her, Jana's time in South Africa was truncated by the COVID pandemic, but what was her misfortune was our great good fortune, since she's continued to contribute in all ways to our efforts during the COVID pandemic. Jana's excellence as an ID physician has been recognized by the MGH Fellows Teaching Award and by the CAS Award for Clinical Excellence. And while I don't intersect with her directly in her research, I do know well her motivation to leverage her clinical and research training to go on to reduce health disparities in domestic and international underserved populations. So Jana, you are already established as a wonderful clinician and a productive researcher, and I have no doubt that you're poised to make major future contributions in our field. Thank you so much for what you've done, and we look forward to all the reflected glory from you in the future.
Thank you, Nestle, and congratulations, Jana.
Thank you.
Your diploma as well will be in the mail. Next up is Dr. Yanis Koulias, who is the Brigham and Women's Transplant Infectious Disease Fellow this year. And Dr. Francisco Marti is going to be saying a few words.
Well, congratulations, Yanis, and kind of a premature graduation, because everybody, I understand, graduated in April when they became attendings and started attending on the wards. So I'm very happy for Yanis. He's going to reach new heights in Colorado, where he's moving to become an attending in transplant and infectious diseases. And was very happy to have Yanis as my fellow this year. You know, very fast learner, very focused, very patient-oriented. I know he will do very well there, and he knows he can count with us, on us, anytime he gets into trouble there. But he's joining a very good team, a growing transplant group. So I wish him the best.
Thank you, Dr. Marti, and congratulations, Yanis.
Thank you so much.
Next up is Dr. Jen Mani Kohler, who has been in clinic with Dr. Mary Montgomery for the past 2 years, and we'll turn the microphone over to Mary.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to all of the fellows. We wish we were definitely together with you instead of sitting in our kind of lonely offices at home. But I just wanted to, I guess I would say that I'm really gonna miss working with Jen. I think that I've learned much more from her, I think, than she has probably learned from me. And every clinic patient, she would come into my room with so much excitement and would say, "Boss, I've got a great one." And she would have read every single detail about the patient and, you know, would know every aspect of their medical history and their infectious diseases and exactly what she wanted to do. But I think what was so beautiful to watch was how much she also got to know the patients in that short period of time. And I would go in and it'd be so evident from the feeling in the room that they really trusted her and looked to her. And that began, you know, even from kind of day one of fellowship, and has only continued. And when she was on maternity leave and I cared for her patients, they asked repeatedly how she was doing. And the ability of the relationship that I then was able for the new patients to establish had really, the foundation of kind of trust had been really laid down by her. And I've seen that just throughout the year, just the amount of advocacy that she does kind of behind the scene for a patient is just spectacular, and I've learned so much from her. So truly, you know, I think she is really the true boss, and Tuesdays will never be as much fun without her. And I also think that I've learned so much in just learning from her about her research and what she's done. And we would, you know, all of us be so honored to continue to work with her and to learn from her. And so I know for sure she has already been such an incredibly successful researcher and will continue to do so. And it has been beautiful to watch her as a clinician. And I know that her patients will continue to be so lucky to have her. So congratulations, and Jen will continue to do clinical work next year and also continue on with her research. And one last thing I will say is that in the midst of having a newborn baby, she stepped away from her newborn baby for 2 weeks to attend and to be a fellow and to attend in the COVID ICU at the Brigham, and that is quite a task, and she did it with such a wonderful attitude. So thank you, Jen, and you'll be very missed.
Thank you, Mary, and congratulations, Jen. Huge round of virtual applause. Next up is Dr. Eric Meyerowitz, who is the graduating MGH HIV Fellow this year. Dr. Raj Gandhi will be saying a few words, who they've shared clinic for the past 2 years.
So I had the good fortune of meeting Eric almost exactly 2 years ago, and I still remember when I met Eric. He had moved here from University of Washington, moved here from Seattle. And the first thing he did when I met him is he showed me a video that he'd taken on his cell phone. And what the video showed is what looked like a rainstorm. What had happened is he was sitting in his apartment. He just moved here from Seattle. And his housemates in the floor above him had left the faucet on. And so my very first recollection of Eric is this flood of water just pouring down in his apartment. And he's showing me this video, and he was cool. He was calm. He was collected. I'm just imagining myself in those shoes. So Eric, you started your fellowship in a rainstorm, and you're ending it really in the maelstrom of COVID-19. And I will say, throughout those 2 years, what I admired most about you is your grace under pressure from the beginning to the end of your fellowship. Now, I like to say to trainees, what distinguishes a mediocre doctor from a great doctor are just a few things. The great doctor has that attention to detail, has the commitment to the patient, leaves no stone unturned. And Eric, you have shown all the characteristics throughout your fellowship of an outstanding physician. I think of the vulnerable patient with HIV who struggled with adherence and with side effects, who you saw weekly for really probably months on end. I remember a patient that Dr. Vanna told me about with HTLV1, where you went to extraordinary lengths to bring an intervention to her care. And then I think most recently of the the highly informed care you give to patients with COVID-19. So Eric, you are a great doctor, and it has been a privilege participating in your training. I will say Eric is going on to really extend the reach of his impact to Montefiore Hospital, where he'll be working starting on June 30th or July 1st, one of those two. And I look forward to interacting with you for many, many years to come. Thank you, Eric, for all that you've done.
Thank you, Raj, and a huge congratulations to Eric as well. Next up is Dr. Laura Platt. Laura has been in clinic with Dr. Jen Johnson for the past 2 years, and I'll turn the microphone over to Jen.
Thank you. So I'm super sad that Laura is graduating, in part because I have to actually probably learn how to precept again. Haven't been really doing that for the last 2 years. Really just kind of been hanging out and getting to talk to Laura about her patients as she constructs her plans for them, and occasionally humors me by asking me a question, which is really nice to help me feel like I still have something to offer in this relationship. I'll try to continue to believe that, but it's just been such a pleasure to get to work with her, even from the very first day. It's a lot to come into a new institution and a new clinic and a new specialty and just kind of pick up a patient panel, but Laura has constantly had this quiet, calm, humble approach to medicine in really all settings. She's really unflappable, and even in the face of any variety of patients in the clinic, regardless of their background, regardless of what kind of crazy story they're coming in with, regardless of their behavior in the clinic, and really been able to just get right to the heart of what's going on with the patient. Sometimes to the point that it seems like how did we even get here? And I would ask, like, well, did they, have we checked this? Have we checked this? Oh yeah. That was, that was taken care of. It was here. She's gone through all of the details. It just seems so effortless that it feels like like it can't be true. But she's really been so wonderful to work with. The patients adore her. She's really been able to connect with patients who are really even very, very difficult to connect with. And all of this was, even before COVID. And, I really don't know where I personally or the Brigham as an institution or our division would be without all of her help during COVID. She really stepped in. I was personally in I think a moment of falling apart, frankly, when she just sort of offered to jump in and help, both feet first, and in ways that have been, tremendous. She offered to help, in kind of actually figuring out our entire biothreats program. And then she took on running the entire biothreats ambulatory pager, just, sort of very nonchalantly, just picked it up and, never complained about anything, offered to, just help with all of our plans with, trying to figure out how to take care of COVID patients in the ambulatory setting, see how our RIC is working and figure out that, just kind of out of the kindness of her heart, and again, very humbly and quietly. And it's really impossible to fully thank her, and even actually communicate the impact of everything that she's done for us during this year. So as a clinician, as a friend, as a person, I'm really sorely going to miss getting to work with Laura, but I'm delighted that she's elected to continue taking care of her clinic patients at the Brigham. I think they're so lucky for it. We're all so lucky for that. And I hope that she'll continue to, have a really active clinical career, because she's really just a tremendous clinician. There's just not so many people who can practice medicine like that. So we're very lucky.
Thank you, Jen, and congratulations, Laura. Next up is Dr. Erin Richterman, who has been the Brigham HIV Fellow this past year. Dr. Sigal Yowitz, who has spent time with him this year in clinic extensively, is going to be saying a few words. Sigal?
Yes, can you hear me? So I'm one of Erin's 3 mentors, so I'm glad I'm the one who gets to speak about him. And Erin actually has not started his ID fellowship yet. He's going to start it in July, but he already accomplished so much that I actually had to go through this. So first he has a BA in mathematics, no less. And then he went to the NIH for 2 years. And then he did a residency at the Brigham, but not 3-year residency, but 4-year residency in our global health equity track. And since residency is not hard enough, he got an MPH, but it also worked with Louise Ivers on cholera in Haiti and food insecurity, and published several author papers during that time, and began working on HIV resistance in rural Haiti. And per Louise, he was just an outstanding mentor to his Haitian collaborators. And she says, I'm going to butcher this now, but I'm going to try in Creole. She said that the Haitian team considered him Munkanu. Is that correct, Erin? Which means one of us, the highest form of praise. And then he became our HIV fellow right out of residency. And you really, we've had great HIV fellows, some of them sitting here on this Zoom call. I see Jen smiling at me. She also came right out of residency. And, just like her, he just fell into place. And, you couldn't tell that, he hasn't had extensive HIV and ID training already. It's absolutely outstanding. And then in the middle of the year, he became the de facto COVID fellow. So he was on the COVID unit, he was in the COVID ICU, he was in San Francisco day and night enrolling patients into remdesivir study. Almost every chart of COVID patient I've seen had Erin somehow writing notes on that patient, and those notes was written really within 10 seconds. I've never seen anyone so efficient in doing all that stuff. It was just unbelievable. And then because that's not enough, him and Eric produced these absolutely outstanding weekly reviews of COVID literature that covered the literature extremely well critically, and gained not only local following, but really national following. I know people from institutions around the country that have been watching their YouTubes weekly. So really, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with Erin, and I'm really, really sad that he's not staying here. And as you can see, Emily is sitting next to him, and Emily and Erin and Emily are waiting. Are expecting their first child any second now. We were not sure they'll be sitting here today. So, like every child, I mean, there are a lot of parents here. Already testing their patience. This is just the beginning. It's going to keep happening. And once they have a child, they'll be moving to back to Philadelphia, and Erin will complete his infectious disease fellowship there. So I just wanted to tell Erin that no matter where he is at the Brigham, and I'm sure in Boston, we'll always consider him, I'm going to butcher it again, Mun Panu here at the Brigham, one of us. We hope you'll come back, both of you. So thank you, Erin, and good luck in your ID fellowship. You'll get to graduate again. It's not your last graduation from ID.
Thank you, Sigal, and congrats to Erin. And hopefully that baby comes soon. All right, up next is Dr. Jake Rosenberg, who has been in clinic with Dr. Sandy Nelson for the past 2 years and still does have 2 more to go. And I will turn the microphone over now to Dr. Nelson.
Thank you, Molly. It is really my tremendous honor to celebrate Jake tonight. Jake is another one of the Brown graduates. And so I guess I'm not sure what that means. I'm not a Brown graduate, but kudos to those who are. He came to us and completed his medicine training in the combined MGH Brigham program. He was in the physician scientist program, and I think one of his real accomplishments and real achievements as a resident is that he was a part of the development of the Pathways program. And the Pathways program, for those of you who don't know about it, is a program which was really resident developed to create structures to allow for bench to bedside research, or maybe I should say bedside to bench research. And when he completed his medicine training, he was honored with the Victor Fedorov Memorial Award, which embodied the spirit of Victor in bringing the patient care really to the forum in terms of research. And that's really just a tremendous honor. And I think as a fellow, Jake has really, one of the things that has impressed me the most is that he really has that ability to see the intricate basic science questions that I think inform his decision making. And sort of much to my surprise, his research interest has been in immunology. And I think much to my surprise, we have grown a cadre of patients in our practice who have these incredibly complex immunodeficiencies, including one who I think many of you heard about, who has the novel, newly described JAK-STAT gain-of-function mutation that led to aplastic anemia, which is now corrected. And Jake has really forced me to improve my game when it comes to basic science immunologic research. On top of that, Jake is just an incredible advocate for his patients. And despite this incredible love for science, he has an incredible passion for those people, particularly who are less served. And over his training, he's been passionate about ensuring, particularly the care of patients with substance use disorder. And he has just gone the extra mile, particularly in his first year, ensuring that those who were lost to follow-up in our practice had a way back in, multiple different attempts to reach patients who were lost. And as part of his goal of improving care to this population, he really developed new structures and a new conference around this. Jake's now working with Dr. Sarah Fortune in the School of Public Health. He's focused on the genetic underpinnings of granulomatous inflammation in TB. And I think fortunately for me, you heard that he is not done with his clinic. He is a short track fellow. So I really get to keep working with him for a couple of years. And so I don't have to say goodbye. And just I'm thrilled to keep working with Jake the next couple of years, but really want to honor his tremendous commitments over the last couple of years.
Thank you, Sandy. Congrats, Jake. Next up is Dr. Saree Sanchez, who has been in clinic with Dr. Rocio Hurtado for the past 2 years. Saree is our infectious disease, infection control and antimicrobial stewardship fellow this year. So she couldn't have chosen a better year to be working on outbreak and pandemic responses for this year. I'll turn the podium now over to Rocio.
Thank you, everyone. I first want to give a big shout out to all the fellows for being so incredible. I'm Latin, so you got to bear with me for the next 5 minutes. I also want to say a big thank you to the families. I know many of you are joining today. We even have some grandparents and we have some families from overseas as well. So I'm particularly excited to welcome you to this graduation. I had the wonderful good fortune of working with Saree every Tuesday morning. And from the minute I met her, I noticed a very special quality, not only her generosity of spirit, her warmth, and her commitment to a large and complex panel of patients from all backgrounds and walks of life. And now that she's saying goodbye to her panel, there's lots of tears on both ends and on my end too, so lots of tears related to her departure from the clinic. I know she's extremely committed to public health, to infection control, and there has been no bigger time to sort of show the skills and the fruits of her labor. She has truly become an infection control leader in our hospital. To quote some of my colleagues, some of whom are present, Alyssa, a shout out, who was her preceptor in the antimicrobial stewardship pathway. Alyssa says, Saree, she is the person I want on my team to work through a problem. She is thoughtful in her approach to complicated situations and is able to work through uncomfortable situations with deep professionalism. And to quote Erica Shenoy in her infection control role, Saree has transitioned to a full-blown educator role, is an essential member of the team, and she takes on each task with energy, with energy, and is very open to feedback, which is a wonderful quality in medicine. And so I just want to thank Saree for her contributions, not only in the clinical arena, but I am very confident she will continue to provide her gifts and talents in the public health world for the benefit of humanity. And as we say, where I come from, and where some of you might come from too, felicitaciones, queridísima Saree, que la vida te llene de bendiciones, which means many blessings. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Rocio. Thank you.
Thank you, Rocio, and congrats, Saree, on this graduation. Last but not least, we have Dr. Sam Vidale, who is graduating. Sam has been in clinic with Dr. Paul Sachs for the past 2 years, and Paul will be saying a few words. Paul might be muted.
Oh no, oh no. Thank you for unmuting me. Okay. First, congratulations to all the fellows. And I just want to say I've had the incredible pleasure of being Sam's clinic preceptor over the past 2 years. So I'm really honored to be able to say a few words about him at this virtual graduation. So he is a graduate from Haverford College and then Columbia University, where he did his MD, PhD. And then he stayed on in New York to do his residency at Columbia. And then fortunately for us, he fast-tracked into our fellowship program. And, you know, as a native Parisian, you might think that in his application for fellowship, he might list gourmet food and fine wine as one of his hobbies in that always interesting section of the application, hobbies and interests. No, Sam listed, I enjoy volunteering regularly for the hunger initiatives in the Bronx. Sam is incredibly dedicated to his patients, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but that just gives you a little hint. Before I do that, I just want to mention he is pursuing multiple research opportunities, primarily in the lab of Dr. Dan Baruch, but also doing work at the Harvard School of Public Health and at the Reagan Institute. And as a result, he shared with us this week that he has completed more required training modules than any physician in the entire Commonwealth. And for that alone, he should win an award. But back to what I want to focus on, which is Sam Vidale, the doctor. Sam Vidale, the doctor in our clinic. He has been taking care of a woman with chronic pulmonary aspergillosis who speaks not a word of English. And that patient is so difficult and so challenging and so complicated, both medically and psychosocially. And yet there is only really one doctor that she trusts, and it's Dr. Sam Vidale. I'm going to say another case, it's another pulmonary case, which is a woman who had received 3 different opinions about whether her pulmonary mycobacterial disease should be treated or not. And the only person whose opinion she really trusts is the person who spent an hour talking to her about the pros and cons. And that person is Dr. Sam Vidale. And then why not another pulmonary case? He and I have worked through together an individual with M. abscessus infection who required ultimately to have surgery. And as his daughter, who's a nurse practitioner from England, flew to the United States to care for her father after he had his surgery, one of her first questions for me was, where is Dr. Vidale? So these are not the only cases. There are multiple cases like that in Sam's clinic. And whether it's these cases that I mentioned, or a person who's lost a follow-up from longitudinal HIV care, and he's constantly emailing our social workers to chase after them, Sam is the consummate clinician scientist, because I know he cares about his research, but he really cares about being a doctor too. Sam, I'm so glad that you are going to be continuing your clinic next year, and the year after, by the way, those are the rules. And I just want to say, congratulations.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul, and congratulations, Sam. How about we do a virtual applause for all of our graduating fellows? Congrats, everybody. Now I would like to turn back to a few more special messages. We have a special message from Governor Charlie Baker, who wants to wish you all well on your graduation.
Hey, this is Massachusetts Governor Charlie.
Hold, please. Again.
Maybe Dr. Baker should upgrade the internet access in the state of Massachusetts.
I agree completely.
Oh.
All right, Jen.
Everything was fine until I went large screen. We're going small screen.
Jen, would you like me to pause? We can skip ahead. We have a live tribute we can move to.
You know what I might ask is if everybody, I don't know if it would help if people muted their video. I don't know that it would. Tried it out multiple times today, but it was just me.
It's all right. Why don't we go ahead and while you maybe work on refreshing things, I suspect it's just the Zoom. Why don't we move to Dr. Akash Gupta, one of our current first-year fellows, who is going to be providing a special tribute to the graduating class from the first-year fellows. So Akash?
Hi. I'll turn my video back on for this. So hi friends, I was planning to extensively roast each of you individually, but then Jen told me I only had like 60 seconds to speak, so I'm gonna be a little concise. So I remember my first day on the Bigelow as an intern in July 2015. My pager went off like 12 times in a row, and one was about a patient with chest pain, and my internal world exploded. But in walks my junior resident, Yana, as she probably remembers, and she was cool as a cucumber. She walks me through the assessment, and it turns out my guy just has GERD, and the world feels okay again. My senior resident seems like a hero and has remained so to this day. Flash forward to the first weekend on ID service back in July of this year, and on Saturday morning, I got like 30 pages in a row about a variety of infectious issues that I'd either never heard of or didn't know how to manage. It felt like the world was exploding again, but sitting next to me is Sam Vidale, once again, cool as a cucumber. He helps me address the insanity while staying surprisingly even-keeled. And it was like intern year all over again. The world suddenly felt okay, and my senior fellow seemed like a god. Flash forward to 9 months and like 500 consults later to March and April of this year, the world felt like it was exploding again, except this time it wasn't just my internal emotions, the world was actually kind of exploding. But the entire division mobilized, and once again, so did the second-year fellows, as we've heard. But just to summarize, Jen, Laura, and Giannis were suddenly attending at the Brigham. Sam and Laura were staffing or running the biothreats and infection control pagers. Yana flew back from South Africa, and she and Jake were staffing results review in the CAT pager, and Yana was doing Team W. Eric and Erin were doing these weekly COVID lit reviews that became like the main way I learned about COVID. Jen was looking at COVID and diabetes. John was setting up a convalescent plasma clinical trial. And Saree was reassuring the whole hospital that PPE actually works, which to my surprise turned out to be true. And basically everyone was doing chart reviews for Ingrid. And all of you were doing 1,000 other things, some of which I just learned about right now. So as first year fellows, we saw all of this and we're like, okay, I guess we'll just have to once again calm down and try to do meaningful work. So thank you guys for stabilizing and inspiring us throughout this year. Congratulations, and we're sending a giant virtual hug from our class to yours.
Oh, thank you, Akash. Wonderful. All right, let's see if Baker's ready to go.
Hey, this is Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker. And I just want to start first of all by saying to the Infectious Disease Fellows of 2020, I bet you had no idea where this would all land when you got started with it. But I'm just here to say how much we appreciate on behalf of the people of the Commonwealth and their families and everybody else who's been battling their way through COVID-19 since the early part of 2020, how much we appreciate the commitment, the work, the creativity, and imagination that you all brought to what must have been a shocking task as you headed toward the end of your fellowship. I'm sure years from now, when people talk to you about what year it was that you actually graduated from your fellowship program and you say it was 2020, every single one of them will say, 2020, huh? Were you involved at all in dealing with COVID-19 and the coronavirus? And the answer, of course, will be yes. This is an unprecedented moment in world history. We're dealing with a global pandemic. There have been ones before. I'm sure there will be others. But the bottom line is, as the world gets smaller and smaller, and people get more and more close together for all kinds of reasons associated with academics and finance and research and business and government and everything else, we are going to have to be much better and much smarter about how we deal with infectious disease. And all of you will end up being warriors in that battle against infectious disease as we go forward. But today, mostly, I want to congratulate you on your graduation, and I want to thank you so much for the role you played in battling COVID-19 here in the Commonwealth. And I hope many of you stay here and continue to battle infectious disease with all your colleagues at MGH, at the Brigham, and the other great healthcare institutions and academic research centers here in Massachusetts. God bless.
Thank you. And then we have one last final special guest to give congratulations to the graduating class. And Jen, I don't know if you'd like to keep Moose on as the speaker, or if you're able to share your screen. It's great having Moose up front and center. But for our last tribute from Dr. Tony Fauci.
Greetings to you all. My name is Tony Fauci, Director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases at the National Institutes of Health, and a member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force. I am delighted to congratulate the Infectious Disease Fellows of 2020 on completing your training. I'm confident you will enjoy a stimulating and rewarding career in what I have found to be one of the most, if not the most, exciting subspecialties in medicine. As we continue to confront the unprecedented global pandemic of COVID-19, I am profoundly aware that celebrating this occasion virtually is extremely disappointing at best. However, we all must adjust to this extraordinary situation and unite to overcome its challenges, as you have done so well. This capacity to pivot and adapt will be required of you again and again as you confront the perpetual challenge of new and re-emerging infectious diseases in the future. I was a house officer in the late 1960s and early 1970s. After completing my residency and chief residency in internal medicine, I became a fellow in infectious diseases at NIH. In my second year of fellowship in 1974, I attended a meeting of the American Society of Clinical Investigation. At that meeting, one of the most prominent infectious disease researchers at the time, Bob Petersdorf, noted that vaccines and antibiotics would soon signal the death blow to the subspecialty of infectious diseases. It would no longer be a field in which you could hope to make an impact. The transformative advances had been made, and infectious disease physicians would likely spend their time culturing each other. He said that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but he was in part serious. Fast forward through several decades as we faced outbreaks of HIV, pandemic flu, SARS, MERS, Ebola, Zika, West Nile, and now COVID-19. No specialty in medicine is as exciting as
Sorry.
It's right. We'll be sure to send out the videos from both Governor Baker and Dr. Fauci to the groups. You guys can watch on your own as well if we're not able to get this going.
I'll post these on our YouTube channel and apologize for the technical difficulties.
It is quite all right.
That weren't here all day.
Let's see, shall we give it a moment?
We'll post it.
I think refreshing seemed to work last time.
We were at 2 minutes and 18 seconds.
Yes.
as challenging, as critical, and as unpredictable as the one we have chosen. So hang on. You're stepping into an extraordinary, exciting career, and at just the right time. We urgently need your talent, your energy, your character, your commitment to get through this difficult time in which we find ourselves. Some of you will enter academia, others private practice, or you may pursue a career in public health or join industry. All of you, however, will have the opportunity to make a significant impact as you become part of the global community, helping to protect and restore the health of this nation and the world. So I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Please keep safe and get to it.
So with that, a huge round of applause virtually for our graduating class. We hope you've enjoyed tonight's virtual experience. Know that while we can't be with you in person to celebrate, we are just so proud of you, so grateful for the care and the hard work you've put in these past 2 years. We look forward to continuing to work with those of you who will be here. We look forward to continuing to stay in touch with those of you who are leaving, and know that you will always remain my very first class as the fellowship program director, and this has certainly been a memorable 2 years. So congrats to all. I hope you're able to enjoy the rest of the evening with whomever you're socially distancing with in your homes.
Thank you, Molly. Congratulations to everybody. I just want to thank Molly and Jen for putting this program together, as well as Dan and Paul for their partnership in putting this together as well. Thank you so much to everyone, and congratulations.
Congratulations to you all. Thank you, Molly and Jen, for the hard work in putting the program together. This is really terrific.
We have a little extra time on the BioThreats pager in case you guys are free tonight.
Oh, where am I going to mute you?
All right. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.